there'd be a lot of poop in my hands. I've seen a 6-foot alligator go swinging through the air and slam into a tree.
These guys are the scientists of the supernatural, lecturers leaving lessons for inquiring laymen. They are applying the scientific method to a world that baffles science. They are the cryptids of the corn.
But who else has big black wings and red eyes?
Batman.
Oh, Mothman.
Oh yeah, Mothman.
A great white shark was stolen.
Oh, someone stole a shark?
I got stuff for you don't even know about.
She's a witch. She turned me into a newt.
Who knows? Anything could be possible. Anything could be possible.
It's really big abduction vibes.
Holy moly.
It sounds like you were abducted.
And it just stood up. I mean, it just like kept going and going. And she goes, what the?
Hello, and welcome back to this nautical-themed Cryptids of the Corn podcast.
Ooh, nautical themed.
I am the great and powerful mystery.
I am J. Clone. Number
1,873.
Whoa. From the future.
From the future. From the future, Charlie.
What?
Nothing, don't worry about it.
Okay. I don't know. I really don't know anything about what you're talking about.
So, we're not alone, Jay.
We are not. We have a special guest with us today. A reoccurring guest. Is this our first reoccurring?
Non-podcaster, yes.
Is it? Yeah. I think it would be.
Yeah.
So, welcome back to the show, famous author,
Critically acclaimed
author, and friend of the show, Michael Thompson.
Woo! Welcome back. We
Thank
checked.
you.
His legs do work.
My legs work now.
So this, everybody that
Call
hasn't
back.
listened- yeah, listen to those episodes. That was hilarious. No, you kept looking at me. I'm like, you're the one that does the intros. I'm like, stop
Oh.
looking at me. Step in.
You started talking about Charlie and something. I didn't know what you were talking about.
No, thank you for coming back on, Michael.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Oh, we're very excited, and we're all sober this time.
Hey, you're right.
It's good. It's good. So before we get into today's topic and everything, because we invited you on this one to kind of share in more of a classic Cryptids of the Corn episode than an interview. But as always, please plug all your stuff where people can find you, all your lovely books that are for sale and such.
Sure. I'm the author of many different sci-fi fantasy books. One of them, which I think your audience will really like and might be familiar with, is Winslow Hoffner's Incredible Encounters. It's a folkloric fantasy in the high seas about cryptids, sea monsters, epic urban legends that few have beheld, but there's one man who's seen them all. It's like your classic fisherman's tales, but with real monsters. It's all based on real-life encounters of monsters that have not been proven by science, and there's a big emphasis on globsters as well. And I kind of do a historical fiction thing where I imagine what they might have been. So we have globsters, formerly globsters, featured in there, like Gambo and Giganteus. And so if you want to check that out, that's going to be on my website, michaelthompsonbooks.com.
And I'll have the link for that below, or I'll try to remember. Jay, your fault if we don't remember,
All right, I'll take the blame.
because you do the descriptions.
That's true.
All right. Well, yeah, so amazing books, and that is really fun. I'm classic monsters like Bosco are in there.
Bosco?
Yes.
The turtle.
Oh, you're right.
Beast of
Bum,
Bosco,
bum,
yeah.
bum. Bosco. It's Indiana. They can't pronounce their own cities anyways.
You're going to get
I
another
also
nasty
narrated
email.
my own audiobook. The audiobook is out now. I should
Is it?
mention before I forget. Yes, and I self-narrated it, and it is very, very, very good. I did it in a professional studio and everything. So
That's
if you
awesome.
want to hear all the cool voices in there, it's a really cool. It's a whole new experience.
A whole new world.
Oh, no, that.
I always thought you were going to take up the next line.
I was about to, but I was like,
No, but who are we here to talk about today, Jay?
oh, what, cryptid?
Yeah. Did you forget?
No, I know. I believe, but I'm going to act like I kind of don't know because I only know the name. I know it's Trunko.
Okay.
It's Trunko. Don't have to
Covering
hide
up
it.
the notes.
Yeah, it's Trunko, but I know Trunko falls under the globster category, right? For cryptids,
Partially, right?
partially.
Kind of both, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I know, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding what exactly Trunko is, but that's about the extent of my knowledge of it.
Well, and I mean, the story with Trunko and the story of the Globster isn't that long. Like there's really the one big sighting of Trunko and then the dead body. We'll get into that here in a second. I think this episode's going to be more the explaining what Trunko could be. And I'll give you the chance here in a little bit, Jay, to go first. Because I think both me and Michael may have you beat on this episode.
Out-trunked.
So out-trunked. Out-trunked.
Is that even a thing? It is now.
Out-trunked.
Where's your button?
I'm finding it.
Who knows? Anything could be possible. Is that the one you meant to push? Yeah. Okay.
That you could out-trunk us.
Yeah.
No, so let's start. This astonishing encounter between two killer whales and a large creature with a trunk and white fur appeared in an article called Fish-Like Polar Bear, published in the Daily Mail on December 27th of 1924. Big year. The article describes a very strange creature lifting itself out of the water up to 20 feet and whacking the whales with its giant lobster-like tail. Hugh Balance, one of the witnesses, claimed that the animal was a giant polar bear, and that the whales were said to have fought the creature for over 3 hours. Who won? After the fight, the carcass of the creature nicknamed Trunko washed ashore. Apparently, the whales had won the fight. Trunko was there for over 10 days before getting dragged back out in the sea, but no scientists examined the carcass while it was there. The unidentified witnesses described the corpse as being over 14 meters long, 3 meters wide, and 1.5 meters high, having white thick fur with a armored lobster-like tail, an elephantine trunk, and no blood was seen on the carcass. The question arose over whether Trunko was really dead following the article published on March 27th of 1925 on the Charleroi Mail in Pennsylvania called Whale Slain by Hairy Monster. So now we got a reverse of the story. The story reports that in the contrast of the first article, Trunko killed the whales. He then swam ashore, unconscious from exhaustion, woke up 10 days later and crawled back into sea. So yeah, that's pretty quick. But basically, this whale vessel, and I know it's kind of argued, like there's a lot of weird stuff with Trunko, and I think it has to do that it's literally 100 years ago.
Almost.
Yeah.
99.
About.
So there's a lot of, conjecture when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I believe it was even a whale tour that was first witnessed Trunko and the killer whales fighting.
Right.
In this group, they really described a much more normal whale with white fur and a trunk rather than the beachgoers. So what do you think about that first part, Michael?
Well, I think it's fascinating. I mean, I won't get into the theories just yet. I guess we're saving that for later. But it's certainly sensational. The fact that it was leaping 20 feet out of the air is quite impressive. The size, the proportions is quite wild. And this was definitely something that I was quite drawn to for the second Winslow Hoffner book, which is coming out in fall. And so this is exactly the sort of thing. So it was it kind of inhabits both categories. It kind of inhabits, is partially a globster, partially a standard cryptid, counting the 3-hour battle where it was seen, supposedly struggling for its life. And then once it reaches the shore and it's not quite definable, then it becomes a globster.
Yeah. And it's this first, I don't know, it's weird. And it's just like there's really almost 3 different things. We have the 2 stories of it battling whales and 2 different outcomes. Mm-hmm. But the carcass, and if you believe the picture that is said to be Trunko, it is definitely dead. Yeah, this is the actual picture. Yes. Yeah. If that is the actual picture of Trunko, that is a rotting mound of flesh.
You mean he didn't get
him out in the 2010, I think.
Yeah, the 2010 cryptozoologist Carl Schucker.
He didn't get back up and crawl back into the ocean after that?
Do you see this picture?
I can't.
There's literally flesh rotting off it and going into the ocean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it looks dead.
It didn't look like,
it looks mildly dead.
Looks like blubber. Yeah.
Yeah, and it really does. And so there's a lot of conjecture, though, around this photo in itself, saying that why did it take so long to surface? And this is real. Like, this could be a picture from the 50s of an actual whale. So for people that don't know, we've covered it at home several times. When baleen whales and sperm whales die, they have this big thick layer of blubber, and that'll kind of come off the carcass in like a sock. So the rest of the carcass will sink to the bottom of the sea, but this blubber sheet will make it to shore.
Ugh, blubber sock.
And this would also explain why, when we talk about the lobster part of Trunko, why there was no blood is blubber has very, very poor circulation. Like it's almost, you can think of it almost like a callus. It's there just to protect you from the elements.
Man, it's sitting in salt water. Anything in there's like blood-wise, it may pulled out, right?
Probably. I mean, yeah, and it's
Before it
10
gets-
days.
Yeah, before it floats up on the
I've
beach.
seen some long dead carcasses that never caught into them and were like, it's not bleeding. How weird.
Yeah, right?
So, yeah. So then it washes ashore. And this is when descriptions get weird. Like, what did I say? So this one I had, it talked about the lobster tail, the white thick fur, and they keep describing it as fur. So that's why I definitely kind of lean towards that picture maybe not being of, so somebody's lying in that scenario.
Oh, but lying about the fur?
Either
or
the picture is real and the people are lying. Lying is what I say, because you're not mistaken. Now, in the water, white blubber strings can look really like fur.
Yeah.
But on land, when it's rotting and smelling, it's really hard to tell, like, to confuse that with fur, in my opinion. But the lobster-like features, and did you ever see in your research, because you've researched this much more than I have, that it had a bunch of little lobster-like legs too?
I didn't hear about the lobster legs. I just heard that it had a lobster tail. And there's a couple reasons in my sort of imagination why that could be. And if I could just jump into some of my thoughts.
Go.
on that,
Yeah,
but-
definitely.
But I remember the last episode you had me on. You mentioned, and I got extremely excited when you said that there was a discovery about a either fully aquatic or partially aquatic ancestor to the elephant.
Mm-hmm.
And that was especially interesting to me because in the second Winslow Hoffner book, I interpreted Trunko kind of like a Sirenian, like a manatee. That's kind of a closest elephant relative that is aquatic. And I sort of affected the lobster-like segmentations in the book's description by doing a sort of a rhinoceros-like dermal plating. And so I imagined it like that. So if it were truly like armored like a lobster, I thought that the closest thing that would be sort of cohesive to whatever species it might be like a dermal plating. But I've seen other theories where people interpret it more like a pinniped, where the way the back flippers of a seal looks, like all layered and such, could have affected the flipper of a lobster as well.
I think I fall more into that, and when I get into the end, you'll hear more of that. But I also, net scarring in stuff like that can create in cetaceans.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's true.
There's these patterns that look like armor plates, and it'll kill sections of the skin and make these big, hard, dark marks. So I could see, like, if this was a real creature, towards the end of its tail, getting this kind of caught in a net and breaking free, but still leaving these big, like, almost triangular scars.
Diamond-shaped scars, basically. Yeah.
And I've seen Sirenians, like manatees, like they have shredded tails.
Yeah.
They don't heal, like, they don't fully heal like that. You know, they're stuck to that shape. There's the famous one that Monster Quest did. They had the big trident.
Yeah, the trident-shaped tail. Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
And that was most likely a manatee. And they had great footage.
100% great footage. Yeah.
Of what that looks like.
So I think you've ruined all my ending stuff for me, so thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey.
Oh, no, I do have one you haven't hit.
No, that's okay, because usually I do it, and he yells at me, so.
And we're going to go into each one of those in a lot more detail.
Yeah, I've got lots of questions, so.
Oh, no, I got lots of questions for you, so don't think you're getting away. You're going to ruin my story. You're going to answer questions.
I'll be the moderator.
No, so what do you think about Trunko, Jay?
Just from those, I think those two stories it's just odd that they're so contradictory to each other. There's something about that is just, I don't know, weird to me, I suppose. Just saying, like, okay, this one, the whale's chasing it, and then the other one, it's chasing the whales around.
Year later.
Right. But same story, but like complete opposite behaviors. I don't know. It's just odd. Normally stories don't, they're different varying from here to here, but complete opposite behavior. It stands out. That stands out as, it stands out as odd to me, or weird or different.
Storytelling, selling newspapers.
Right, yeah, and that's the other thing of it. But I mean, but I don't doubt that something was happening, that it was this thing. Now, the thing that washed up, I don't know. I mean, could be that blubber sock you were talking about, but if it is this weird old creature, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't put it past it.
So I'll throw my opinion, and everybody at home can think about me whatever they think about. I don't think that picture is really Trunko, personally. I think there was... Now, Michael, you'll have a better idea than I do, but wasn't there like several hundred witnesses for why it was when it was dead on the beach?
There was quite a lot. I don't know exactly how many there were, but there were quite a lot. And the unifying sort of it had an interesting set of features. It had basically they said no head, or at least no great distinction between where the head began and the body began.
Right.
And it was just the trunk, like a 5-foot trunk, and then straight into the body. And then it was and they said it was covered with this fur. It was also in some descriptions said to be like limbless, like it didn't have any pectoral fins or anything. Like it was just one sort of streamlined shape. So
a lot of people seen this, and I believe in the one thing I said. It's seen like several hundred, because there's a bunch of beach goers every day coming before they drag this out to sea. Before it started to smell so bad that it's time to move it. Here in the U.S. we just blow them up.
Right, yeah. Like the dead whales on the beach.
That sperm whale, and I'll touch on that real fast because it's a funny story. So it was in California, I believe, a bull sperm whale. He's like 45 tons, washes up on the beach. And the person they contacted to blow it up, I don't know, do you know this story, Michael?
I've seen videos of it, but I'm sure you know the details more than I do.
So the person they contact was a retired man that used to work with explosives. Had no experience blowing up an animal.
Ted Kaczynski?
Yes, it was Ted Kaczynski. They got him out of prison.
To blow up a whale?
Yeah. No. His bombs are even that effective.
Whatever.
So he's told, I can't remember, it was some ungodly amount of real dynamite. It was like 1,100 pounds of dynamite or something like that. And they dug a hole out from underneath the side of the whale, put it under, and the goal was they tried to angle it to explode it out towards the ocean. To chunkify it. The goal was to chunkify it and aim it towards the ocean. And what they ended up doing is the hole, from my understanding, first off, they used like 110 times more dynamite than they needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like because basically they came to this old guy, and this old guy was just like, here's how much dynamite it's going to take. And they just wrote him a check for it.
Yeah.
Nobody questioned him. And it all came back on the mayor.
No one crunched the numbers?
Nobody crunched the numbers. Nobody checked his math. And then what I understand, the real big factor was that the hole, because they dug in wet sand underneath a gigantic rotting animal. So the hole kind of shifted and ended up pointing straight up instead of being angled.
Yeah. So
they blow this whale up, and it disappears for a minute. And then it starts raining chunks of blubber. And at first they're fine. Like, everybody at home watch the videos. Because at first they're fine. Like, it's like little golf ball sized chunks. And like, oh, this is gross. This is really bad. Then hundreds of pounds of chunks start raining down.
Yeah.
The one car got crushed by a 500-pound chunk of whale coming back from the stratosphere.
That's insane.
And they destroyed cars in like 2 different towns. Like, it was like the one video was like still, and I think this was like 2005, 2006. The one video, it was still raining like 20 to 25 minutes after they blew up the whale.
Dang.
They put chunks of this whale so high up.
Yeah.
And that old guy was just sitting there going,
The whale's gone, ain't it?
whale's gone. That's what you asked.
That's how you could have got your whale vertebrae finally.
There was no bones left.
Oh, darn it.
All right, nothing big enough to go collect. Anyway, sorry. That was not what happened here.
They didn't do that at the Trunko?
No, they dragged him out to sea like you're supposed to do.
Oh, okay.
That's what you do. You drag it out to sea, then you poke holes in it so it sinks. That's what you normally do with a whale carcass.
Okay.
But no, so yeah, hundreds of people come and view Trunko, and then they drag it out to sea. So to me, it's really weird that this really distinct description stuck for such a long time.
Right.
If it was, a normal globster, I know, Michael, if anybody at home hasn't seen, just type in globsters. like half the time they're these socks of blubber, so they don't really have a form. Sometimes they do have like beaked whales. Sometimes when they die, they stick into they still come to shore full. So they kind of have like a weird head, but they don't really make a lot of sense. Stuff like basking sharks, when they die, they look all freaky. There's that famous picture of a plesiosaur supposedly pulled out of the stomach of a sperm whale that's like rotting. And it's actually a basking shark's cartilage skeleton pointed the wrong way.
What do you mean?
Wow.
So they took like the tail of it and said, this is the neck, and there's the flippers and everything down there.
Oh.
And it's really the flippers and everything down there is the head, and they're holding the tail end of it.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So it's like there's rotting carcasses can look funky, but they generally don't like look this funky. So what do you think about that second? Do you think it's just somebody having fun with the story again a year later, or do you think it's a whole different encounter? I've seen people go either way.
A whole different encounter. No, I don't think it's a whole different encounter. It sounds like someone came upon the story, thought it was a cool tale, and sensationalized the ending as if like to set up a sequel or something. Is what that sounds like. Because it's like it's a cooler ending if the beast is still out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what it sounds like. Because otherwise, it was all it was Margate Beach. Everything was the same details. It's the only thing that inverted was the winner. And I think he said that it was knocked out for a full 10 days before it dragged itself back into the water. And that, I don't know.
Impressive.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It's like Jesus.
Yeah.
Except Jesus wasn't a marine mammal that was laying on the beach in the baking sun for 10 days.
Nothing like Jesus.
Rotting.
I thought I'd get a laugh out of both of you guys, but
It didn't work.
No. No, that's funny. Except he's not a rotting marine mammal.
Except you want to tell your joke again?
No, I don't. Do your thing. Oh, it's not even letting you.
It's not even letting me move any buttons. We'll have to deal with that later.
Yeah.
Editing.
Yeah, this will be fun.
No, what were we talking about? Now I forgot.
Rotting marine. No.
Oh.
No.
So yeah, you already brought up a lot of the Trunko possibilities I had written down. Let's go. Let's kind of go through them. Or do you have anything else to add to the Trunko story before?
Oh, sure. I could talk a little bit more about it.
Please do.
I don't know. And I don't know if you're gonna touch on any more newspaper reports. Are you?
No, you go right ahead.
No.
Go right ahead.
Okay, you froze for a second. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, I discovered an interesting lead. So when I initially heard the Trunko story, I thought, okay, it's probably a rotting corpse, but I liked the description and I was very drawn to it. And I think that part of what makes it so memorable is also the name. The name gives it a lot of personality. That I think it was Carl Schuker that gave him the nickname. So you're more likely going to remember Trunko than you're going to remember something else. But I found a near identical description from the 30s of a similar monster. And you guys, I think you're familiar with Adam Benedict of the Pine Barrens. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in Monsters in Print,
right
all
over
the way
there
at the back, he's got. Let's see, I can get you the page number actually. So now in the book itself, it has a sort of different description, but with the with some additional information, it becomes more interesting. But there was a 42-foot long carcass found in Alaska, November 25th, 1930. And so this was initially described as being reptilian, lizard-like, looking like a dinosaur. But it was furry. So there's not a lot of dinosaurs that are furry. Interestingly enough, there's a bit more information on Adam Benedict's website about the monster. And this is kind of where I think the name Trunko helps it with its longevity, because the only name that this thing has was like the Glacier Island body or something. And this one, it was found Glacier Island in Alaska, November 10th. And we had a couple of guys, Jerry O'Leary and Charles Gibson, who discovered the carcass. And it was just this unknown sea creature. They'd never seen anything like it. They were out there like getting ready to feed their foxes or whatever. And then this thing washes ashore and they go, perfect. And they cut some meat off of the thing. Now, this is the big difference between this one and Trunko. Trunko was all blubber, had no blood. This one was apparently extremely well preserved on account of the cold water. And they chopped it up and they smoked it. And I've got a quote from them that says it looked and smelled like horse meat. And so I've got some thoughts about that. But they had some descriptions of it, that the head was attached directly to the torso with no visible neck. It had a trunk, and it was furry, fur-covered flesh. And so originally, they thought it was reptilian, but other people thought that it could have been the badly decayed carcass of a woolly mammoth, which is perhaps possible if it was perfectly preserved in ice and then let free. But that doesn't account for the long tail that it had. And it had a very, very long tail that accounted for most of its body. So very interesting stuff. So we have some measurements that were taken by W.J. McDonald, who was this guy he was a scientist. And so yeah, pretty interesting. But it was described as having an elephantine head, no visible distinction between the neck and the body, covered in fur with a trunk, and supposedly quite well preserved. But then, like Trunko, interest in it fizzled and it washed back out to sea and it was never seen again. So that's very interesting.
Why is that a recurring theme?
Well, that's just what carcasses do on the beach.
I guess. No one collects them though.
They're giant rotting animals.
I guess you're right.
You want to put that in the bed of your flatbed?
Yeah.
See, a Bigfoot you could actually load into the bed of a truck.
I suppose.
A 40 to 50 foot, 100-ton animal that's been rotting for several days.
They're already cutting chunks of meat off. They could have cut his head off.
To feed their foxes.
They could have cut his head off and threw it in the...
I guess they did eat it, didn't they? They said it tastes like horse meat. Horse meat.
Well, I don't know if they themselves tasted it. I think they fed it to the foxes, but it said it looked and smelled like horse meat.
Oh, looked and smelled like horse meat.
It looked and smelled.
You know, one of them tried it. Maybe they did. I mean, there's a lot of stories about woolly mammoths when they're able to have well preserved flesh and they turn it into meatballs and stuff. For some reason, there's this. They just cloned that and made
desire.
meatball.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Colossal just sold the woolly mammoth meatball for a lot of money. Colossus, sorry.
Everyone has this desire to eat these mammoths for some reason.
I would.
It's
Pachyderm
human nature.
Pachyderm tastes disgusting.
Do they?
Yeah.
You've had pachyderm?
No. Oh, no.
So how would you know?
Don't worry about it.
It might taste like an amazing roast.
Until you try it.
Yeah,
It might
exactly.
taste like an amazing roast. That's an interesting... Michael, I've never heard that one. I have all of Adam's books, and I've never heard that one, but, they're pretty comprehensive books, so...
Well, I would have gone right past it because it was described as lizard-like in the title, because the Monsters in Print book is just, it's just the article, but he had more supplementary information on his website, and so I was able to go back and forth, and I found the actual article in the book, and then I found the information on the website that had the measurements and the descriptions taken by this McDonald fella, and it doesn't sound reptilian. It could have been that people were just fascinated with dinosaurs at the time and wanted to call it a dinosaur, but the fact that it had fur and it's supposedly well preserved and they smoked the meat, I don't think you can smoke. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you can smoke blubber, but
I don't imagine. I think it would just melt, right?
Yeah, I think it would turn into oil or something.
I think it would because that's how they refined blubber, is when every time they would cook it, they would not cook it, they would boil it, basically.
Sure, yeah.
That's how they refined it into oil. That's a weird story. I love it. I've never heard it. That was one I wasn't prepared for. So reptilian, I know it used, said that it may have just been the obsession with the dinosaurs and stuff at the time, because they were talking about Lost World, this dinosaur scene here, just any big reptile, and we were still describing dinosaurs then as basically big upright iguanas half the time. But and I know you'll know the Bleismosaurs, these really primitive whales were very crocodilian like. As far as at least their skeletal remains we have. A very long, elongated body, very crocodile-like. Nobody ever talks about them having fur, but nobody knows. They were still much more closely related to their land mammals. They still had their hind legs.
You trying to say that this could be a whale relative?
Well, Bleismosaurs are whales, technically.
Well, yeah. I meant Trunko in particular.
We'll get to that, but
Okay.
I have my suspicions. Now, this is interesting. No, I never knew this story. That's really cool.
It's an interesting piece of the puzzle. And so when people hear that and they're like, wait a second, this is lining up with the Margate Beach discovery pretty nicely. And there's some other cultures that have aquatic elephants, or what they think of as like water elephants.
So, do you have anything else to add to these two stories before we move on to what we think it could be?
No,
because that's a perfect segue. The aquatic elephant theory is kind of the first big one that me and you have already talked about off air and stuff like that. So India, most people don't realize this, there was a continent, or basically a bigger island to like Madagascar and stuff like that started. There was more land to where they kind of connected, and that's Asian elephants and African elephants. They would cross that. Yeah. There's fossil evidence to suggest there's a species that was, when that was still exposed, they were swimming out to these islands back and forth. And we know that here in the U.S. that mammoths would swim out to the Caledonian Islands and stuff like that. They were continuously doing it, 7 to 13 miles offshore, and they'd just be like, I think I could make it. I mean, it's a mammoth. There's not a lot that's going to, a Colombian mammoth to be specific, it's not a lot that's going to try to eat them.
Right,
A megalodon, maybe.
Might pick at their feet.
Yeah. But no, so there was this evidence that suggests that the species of elephant was swimming longer and longer distances to go back and forth. And then the big landmass disappeared. Madagascar is what's left of it. Most people don't realize it's like literally Madagascar is a chunk of a much bigger landmass. And obviously there's no elephants on Madagascar. There are still some other primitive species. In India, they have a lot of stories of fully aquatic mammoths. Or not mammoths, sorry, fully aquatic elephants. These trunked animals that they were saying that they knew what an elephant was. And they would talk about there's, Asian forest elephants, and there's the elephants that live out in the ocean. And we talked about on one of our Mystery Cetacean Station.
Yeah.
Where we talked about that there was a species of whale that was seen in the Indian Ocean that most biologists fully believe is real, and I can't think of the name of it, but it's only been seen the one time, and they think it's due to extremely how smart and shy they are. But literally, and they were like in the middle of one of the pods, and I can't remember the name. Mystery Cetacean Station. It was in that episode somewhere.
It's in there, yeah.
So there's this whole theory, this whole thought process that if elephants kept going that way, and we know, we think of modern day elephants, we only have the 2 species left. One has several subspecies, but they're not really hairy, big and small ears, these long trunks. But if you look at pachyderms of the past, there were some insane species, including some of the biggest land mammals to ever exist. And some of them were quite shaggy.
Yeah.
So what if this is a giant marine elephant?
Bum, bum, bum.
What do you think, Jay? I'll give it to you first.
Well, I mean, marine elephants, they have existed, correct, in the past?
As far as I know, there's no fully marine species of elephant that's ever been found in the fossil record. We know mammoths swim out to islands, and there's evidence of this species. I don't have the name of this. We're having some interference. Sorry. Yeah. Did you hear that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I had a big, loud noise through my headphones.
Oh, really? I didn't have any.
Anyways, we have evidence of the species in the Indian Ocean that was swimming a greater distance than modern day pachyderms, including mammoths, were.
But nothing that was 100%.
Nothing that was ever 100% aquatic. We had swamp species. We had species that were spending a good time in standing water. Mm-hmm. But no, we don't have any fossil evidence, as far as I know from my research, of a fully or semi-aquatic species.
Like something like a whale that lives in the water.
If you look at elephants, they'll lay on the water all day. They'll be completely submerged with just their trunk. They're happy in the water. But most that's water they can touch in.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because elephants don't float, do they?
Yeah, they do.
They do float?
Mm-hmm.
They're not
good
like
swimmers.
hippos?
They're great swimmers.
Not like hippos where they
Not like hippos.
Okay. That's just the thought in my head. They were just like hippos. I didn't know they could actually swim.
Hippos are especially evolved to do that, to sink. It's actually kind of hard for a mammal to sink unless you're really dense. They have really dense bones, so they're negatively buoyant.
Gotcha.
Well, come on, Jay, spit it out.
I'm thinking. I mean, a semi-aquatic elephant just sounds like crazy talk. You know what I mean? But I know it's not.
Literally every other big mammal went to the ocean.
Right, yeah. So why not this? I mean, we got aquatic ape theory. Why not aquatic elephant theory?
Aquatic
for Trunko?
elephant theory.
For Trunko.
I think that's the title of the episode, even if that's not what we land on.
Aquatic elephant theory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
So, Mike, what's your thoughts on the aquatic elephant theory?
I do. I really like the aquatic elephant theory. There's interesting mythical creatures. We talked the last time I was on the show about the whole everything on the land has its answer in the sea.
Mm-hmm.
That was sort of one of the theories, and like you have the narwhal, which is like the sea unicorn, I think it was called at one point. And then in this I was in preparation for the show, I was checking out articles, and there are lots of ancient mythical aquatic elephants. There's one called Gaja Mina, which its name literally means fish elephant, and it's from the Balinese Hindu culture, and is one of the 7 Makara, which you can see sculptures of this thing. It's supposedly a elephantine sea serpent type thing, and they have that on temples and stuff, and it's kind of looks like what you would expect, almost like a dragon, but then it would have this big old trunk. And so that's quite interesting. And in the article that I found, it was there's even been supposed sightings by fishermen saying that it had fur on its body. So that's quite fascinating. Even in the 2000s, several of them are lobster situations, but one I think was a sighting by a fisherman. And yeah, so apparently they go after their fish, so it's considered like bad luck if you see this thing and you're a fisherman.
Now I'm trying to remember. You just sparked a memory, and me and Mike from Cryptids HQ were talking about this. Now it's the snake elephant from Africa, the Groot sling. The Groot sling.
Groot sling, yeah.
It's supposed to be the most powerful in some of the African folklore. The most powerful creature ever created by God. It was so powerful, it was destroying so much stuff that God wiped out all the Groot sling, killed them all.
Groot sling.
And then one survived in a deep cave. And after God found it, so that one's still alive today in modern day. But the other ones, after the ones he slew, he split their bodies apart and made the elephants and the giant snakes. So that was like it was a serpentine elephant. That's weird.
Yeah,
That
I
is
can't.
weird.
I don't even know. Like, does it have elephant legs?
No,
Or
it's basically
a
it was the
snake with
front
a
of it
trunk?
was very very snake. It was like imagine like a giant eel with an elephant's head.
So a snake with an elephant's head.
Yeah.
Okay. Or a snake head on an elephant's body.
No.
Okay.
Very different animal.
Yeah. I'd say
That's
so.
a dinosaur. That's a dinosaur.
Okay.
That's Mokele Mbembe,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
yeah.
But no, so yeah, the Indians have all this culture, and they're not the only ones to talk about it. There's many of the sea monsters we have on the maps from the 11th century and such have these trunked water monsters, lake or ocean monsters. And people say, how can they exist? So my favorite one is when you see the tusked whales on those maps. Well, we have beaked whales. We have whales that have tusk. Most people don't realize that we actually have whales that have tusk, and that they weren't making that up. They were drawing a whale, and it was much scarier than a whale actually is, but it was drawing a whale, and it had big tusks, so they give it big tusk.
Those old maps are always have those creepy looking creatures on them.
I love those maps.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
I'm sure you do.
I've got books of those maps. That was one of my the Carta Marina by Olaus Magnus was one of my favorites.
Doesn't that sound refreshing? Why not take it up a notch and make it a Dunkin' Refresher? If you're a Dunkin' Rewards member, you can get a $3 medium Dunkin' Refresher every day all month long. That's a lot of refreshment, and it's pretty refreshing. Not a member? Join on the Dunkin' app. Dunkin' Rewards. Save them, stack them, use them how you want. America runs on Dunkin'. Limit 1 per member per day. Additional charges and terms may apply. Exclusions may apply. Participation may vary. Limited time offer.
So before we go on to the next one, we're going to do our percentages.
Why do you do this to me?
So what percentage you giving this one?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Of possibility.
What, of Trunko?
No, of the aquatic elephant for being Trunko.
Oh, the aquatic elephant. Ooh. You know what? This might be one of those special cases where this is a 50-50. It's a 50% chance it could be this.
You're using up a lot of good stuff.
That's
Because I have another cryptid on this list later.
well. I'm still
I love explaining a cryptid with a cryptid just like you did.
sticking to my guns.
Michael, you going to give Aquatic Elephant a percentage?
I don't know. I do like the 50-50 that Jay's saying because
It never adds up to 100, just so you know. It never adds up to 100.
it never adds up. Okay. 52-48. How about that?
There you go.
Ooh, all right.
He's a big spender.
Slightly
Big
inflated.
spender.
I don't think it's that strange. I don't think it's that strange.
No,
we have much stranger things in the ocean.
Uh-huh.
And big mammals have gone back and forth from the ocean constant. Like
Yeah.
whales have done it several times. So to think of an elephant, and we know elephants were doing this big gap in the Indian Sea, swimming out to longer and longer and longer distances. Genetically or physiologically, at some point you would just stop. Like you would either your species would so they're slowly either getting better at swimming a longer distance and a longer distance and a longer distance. So you start but at one point you're getting to you're swimming 100 miles every day. Why not just stay in the ocean?
Right, yeah.
You're more evolved for living in the ocean now than you are for being on the land when you get there.
Eventually it'll just turn into a crab.
Every carcinization. Actually, that's next on the list. This is actually a giant crab.
No, it's not.
It's not next on the list. I tried.
Fool me once.
Well, the lobster tail,
See?
Yeah, don't give him a window.
Convergent evolution.
Convergent
crab
evolution.
Developed the trunk somehow.
It's crab.
It's all crab.
It's crab.
The world is crab.
No, my next one is gigantic elephant seal.
That's a good one. That's actually a really good one and quite a direct one as well.
Pinnipeds. Everybody at home, pinnipeds. That's seal family.
Pinnipeds?
Pinnipeds.
Pinnipeds?
Yep.
Okay.
So we had pachyderms.
Pachyderms and
Now we have pinnipeds.
okay.
So elephant seals, everybody at home, are the largest living member of seals, and they're actually one of the largest fossil seals we have too. Elephant seals, our biggest on record, is 18 feet long.
It's pretty big.
A little smaller than some of our biggest great white sharks.
That's a pretty big seal.
Yeah.
Now, are they furry?
Now they don't have any hair that you would see like with the naked eye. What they do have is around breeding season, they kind of shed their fur mats. They have dense, packed, short hair, but they shed their fur mats and they have these giant strands of hair coming off their body. So if you have a white member of your species, and they're white seals, elephant seals aren't white; they're red and brown. But if you have a white giant seal, and it's in this process, there's also orcas kind of tearing it apart. So that could be how in the ocean it looked like it was shedding some of this big fur. And then on land, after it dries out, when seals dry out, you can see their fur.
Yeah.
When they're wet, it's all interlocked.
Okay.
So when it's laying there dead on the beach or whatever, you could see these big fur. You would see the trunk. Elephant seals, unless they're really, males especially, don't really look like they have a head. It's just kind of this giant nose stuck to the end of one end of these massive bodies. Like Michael already said earlier, this tail, the way pinnipeds, they actually have feet and a tail on their hind end. So they have this lobster-like looking tail. And then elephant seals also have very thick skin and all that stuff. So this could be a bigger cousin of the modern day elephant seal or a remnant species. And everybody at home that may not understand, elephant seals are world travelers. They're not supposed to be in 99% of the places they end up. There's that one in Australia that falls in love with a cow every year and destroys it. He swims upriver like 400 or 500 miles and he invades this town. And look it up. Look at the videos of this elephant seal destroying cars.
For what?
Because he's lonely.
And he wants this cow?
So what he does is he swims way like 400 or 500 miles upriver into Australia, and then he gets out in this farm town and he chases cows all day, and then he fights cars.
Does he ever catch a cow?
No.
Okay.
You've seen elephant seals aren't known for high speed on land.
Right, I know that.
Also, there's been some to pop up in the Amazon rainforest. We believe we have a record of them in the Mississippi. We talked about the White River Monster one time, that we think that was an elephant seal. There's recently a video going around on the other side of South America, on the Pacific side, where this gigantic, it's an obvious creature is swimming around in this river. And it's 100% an elephant seal, in my opinion. It's a very large elephant seal, but it's an elephant seal. And these guys are only like 30 foot away. And this river's like 30 foot across or so. So it's not very big. And you just see this monster in crystal clear water swimming back and forth in circles, then goes back down river. But that's elephant seals. Like, they'll do that. Like, so they don't pop up in places they're supposed to be.
It's just a thing they do.
Yeah. So what do you think about this, Michael?
I think that it's an excellent theory. And orcas are known to love the taste of seal, so that gives it some very good credibility for the story. A big,
Really big
elephant
seal.
Yeah. In fact, in Winslow 2, when that comes out, I'll give you an exclusive little preview.
Ooh, here we go.
Winslow's description of Trunko was it looked like an elephant seal that took the elephant part too literal, and so that was
Ooh, love it.
that was how he describes it.
Looked like an elephant seal that took the elephant part too literal.
What
do you think, Jay?
Did Trunko have big ears?
No.
He didn't?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Really, the only thing elephantine about Trunko
Was his trunk?
was the trunk.
Okay. Oh. That's a joke.
Oh.
Trunko.
What's your percentage, Jay?
So, on this...
Elephant seal. Big elephant seal. Cousin of the modern day elephant seal. Not saying this is a member of the modern elephant seal species.
Right. It's just
an offshoot or ancient cousin that's probably on the verge of extinction or very low numbers. We talked about it on a recent episode that the ocean is so vast, the chances of you running into anything are extremely low.
Right. So they might not be. They just might not live.
They just might not be a lot of them naturally.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they could be worldwide extirpated for all we know.
That's extinct.
I know.
You're extirpated from the planet Earth. You are extinct.
Extinct. Yeah. 27%.
Ooh. Michael?
It's hard with these percentages.
Well, I'll give it, since we know that elephant seals exist and they're already goofy looking, I'll give it an extra bump because it has that bit of living evidence, and they're much bigger than people expect already. So I don't think that it's too far fetched to say that there could be an even bigger, even chunkier elephant seal out there. So I'll give it a 60, 40.
Dang.
I think Michael's at 112%.
That's all right.
Yeah. Pulling some J math. That's all good. So this next one is, I give this to, this is my, if I had to pick a 50-50, the giant elephant seal is one of my 50%.
Okay. Oh, the elephant seal is? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
This next one, I don't know, but it's something we have to include. A mysterious cetacean.
Just a whole brand new species that...
of somehow, somewhere, a whale evolved a trunk. And he got furry. Whales have taken on many a weird shape.
Has there ever been a whale that we know of in history that has had fur?
So there was an animal, we did it on listener submissions. There was a whale that was killed that was furry in Nova Scotia. That was like a sea monster. And what'd you say?
He gasped. That's where Winslow Hoffner's from.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if anybody's heard of that story. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. No, I can't remember. That's another one from Adam's books. Now I can't remember what page or what book it's from. It may be Oddities in print. But a listener submitted it to us. It's from his hometown. And he took pictures of the book and stuff and sent it to me. He didn't know I had the book. But, so no. We have no baleen whales that are alive, no beaked whales that are alive, and no toothed whales or porpoises that are alive that have fur.
Fur, yeah.
There's all mammals have facial hair. Whales do have facial hair, but it's very, very refined.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
They have little mustaches.
Really?
It's still there, but it's very, very tight.
Interesting. That sounds awesome.
But
I want to see
a whale hair.
A whale hair, or just a whale with a full-on mustache. I want to see a whale grow a Hickenbottom.
Oh, Hickenbottom, a push broom mustache.
Yeah.
That would be scary. That's a real interesting creature. But I don't know how this would happen. I don't know of any. So this would have to be a very, very, very primitive order of whale to still maintain hair. And primitive doesn't mean non-evolved. It just means it's still much more close related to its original roots.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Michael?
I hear what you're saying. I think the only way that it was a whale is if it was in fact only a globster and not a true animal. That this was whale blubber. I don't think it was a whale. I'll give it a good solid 12.
Oh, there we go. That's a good
I'm
number.
not adding all these numbers together, by the way.
You never have to.
Don't worry, the listeners do it. What about you?
I'm even giving it less than that.
What?
11.
I'm giving it a 0.
Oh, 0?
Yeah.
Don't you know the saying? Anything's possible. You got to give it a 1 at least. Who knows? Anything could be possible.
No, I don't think this is a cetacean.
Oh, wow.
The biology doesn't fit them at all. Even the ancient cetaceans. I did see somebody commented it, so I always try to include even the far off ones. But there's nothing whaley about this, really. At least the living one. Like we talked about, if it falls down to just being a globster, sure. You know,
Yes.
if nobody actually seen, because isn't that
if it was just fat, then it could have been a whale fat.
Isn't that just?
But I think the fact that it was large might be why some people might think it's a whale, just because of the sheer size of it.
Yeah, because that's kind of the naturalist explanation. Is it was 2 killer whales playing with whale blubber out in the ocean. Like that's kind of what I don't know. There's a lot of witnesses. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah.
This isn't like 3 fishermen that have been drinking
One
and been
boat,
at sea for 4 weeks.
Because, yeah.
3-hour battle.
Huh?
For a 3-hour battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A 3-hour tour. A 3-hour tour.
You are Gilligan.
I was Gilligan in the Play Lagoon.
Ooh.
Makes sense.
Leave me alone. Here's my third most likely from me personally.
But this is our 4th option.
Yeah. I
Dang.
gave a 0 on the whale.
All right.
A giant Sirenian.
What's a Sirenian?
Manatees.
Okay.
So we talked about the Stellar sea cow. Stellar sea cows got quite large. I got it somewhere written down here. So there's kind of a weird argument because Stellar himself did not agree on his own weight estimates for the Stellar sea cow. He did say they were quite tasty. And him and his crew were responsible for pretty much their extinction.
Now, did he say what they tasted like?
A horse.
No, did he?
Yeah, right here, horse.
You lie.
I don't know what he said it tasted like. No, so
You got me so excited.
I know. I was like, you're lying. There's no way it adds up like that cleanly.
okay. So his one estimate for the big adults they were finding, 35 feet long. The big adults they were finding, and they were killing a lot of these things, so they were real easy to kill because they just kind of stabbed him in the back of the head as you went along in the boat.
Nice.
Because they were so big and they were in such shallow water, like they really didn't have any predators.
Yeah.
So they're like, "What's that?" No!
Yeah, something's jabbing at it.
Yeah. So his first weight estimate, and this is the low end, is 8,000 pounds,
Okay.
which is about a hippo,
That's
about an adult hippo.
big.
So
Regardless.
it is big, but it's not, for the ocean. Think about for the ocean.
I know, but still, 8,000 pounds is still.
His larger size estimate, I'll give you each a guess.
His larger size. Wait, are we talking the length or are we talking the
Weight.
with the weight?
So
Oh my
we
God.
know they're 35 feet long. He could measure that after they killed them.
20,000 pounds.
20,000 pounds? That's a good guess.
Yeah, that's my guess.
See, Michael. Price is Right
I
rules.
don't. 1 pound.
1 pound for his upper. It's above 8,000.
Okay. 10,000.
Ooh,
Hey, should have went 8,001.
52,000 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
So this is a pretty sizable discrepancy.
That's like a showcase showdown prize.
So here I have, like I said, on the lower end, it would be the size of about 1 hippo. On the upper end, it would be the same weight as 4 fully grown bull African elephants.
And he's sitting there jabbing his stick into the back of its head.
No, they were real easy to kill.
Still,
Real easy to kill.
size of 4 boar elephants.
Well, it's either the size of a hippo or the size of... Anyways,
So he
we're
takes
arguing
a
about the
spud-
wrong part of this.
So he takes a
Arguing about the wrong part. So these animals, anyways, were quite large. And let's split the middle. Let's say they were 20,000 pounds. A really big one of these was 20,000 pounds. That's quite possible in the ocean. Sirenians had many members. We're down to just a handful of species now on the Earth.
Why? Because people are taking spud bars to the back of their heads?
That's part of it. Our ocean change currents, all that kind of stuff. Manatees are just kind of easy to hit with boats.
Hmm.
No Sirenian besides maybe the Dugong has been really hard to hunt
Okay. It's because he's a special Pokemon.
because he's in the middle of the ocean.
Oh, okay.
He's just harder to find with a stick.
Yeah, the spud bar. That's all I imagine.
Just somebody out there. Do you know what a spud bar is, Michael?
No.
It's you use it for ice fishing. It's a big steel slab with a serrated end on one end, and you just bang it into the ice.
And it makes a big hole in the ice, so you can.
Yeah, so that's what he's imagining killing this Steller sea cow with is just a spud bar, and it's probably what he did it with.
I just figured it'd make you laugh.
It did, but no. So there are some. So Steller sea cows got quite large. We know that. Basically, medium whale sized. The Steller sea cow, though itself, was a shallow water animal, very slow, very cumbersome, and having no natural predator. Just kind of So there is some evidence to suggest that there was actually an Arctic and an Antarctic version of this. So that Steller sea cows have only been, so we think there was two separate populations.
Okay.
So what happens with these things? So the same thing happened with the East Indian manatees. We have some in India, and we have some in Florida. So there was something that got them both over. So there's a theory that there is an open ocean cousin that still may be around. This is still an active theory that there is a cousin of the Steller sea cow that is still out there right now in the open ocean.
I like to believe that there is too.
But a lot of biologists kind of get behind this. If anybody hasn't seen a manatee, they have a really flexible nose. And there's some ancient manatees that even had a much more defined version of that, more like an elephant seal or even more like an elephant, where they would actually use it to help shovel the plant matter into their mouth.
Yeah.
So what if that's what
the
Trunko
dugong
is?
The dugong has a quite
Yes.
prehensile.
So what if that is what Trunko is a white, just for whatever reason, open ocean Steller sea cow? What do you think, Michael?
I love it. I love it. I love the theory. I would put it equally among. These are all good theories. I don't know.
Except the whale.
Except the whale. No, I throw the whale out. But unless it was truly a carcass. But it's I can definitely believe it. We have things like that now. They're related to the elephant, so I would put it pretty even with the aquatic elephant theory.
Jake?
Is it like a trunk, like a tapir's nose, kind of?
Yeah. So not quite is what you're imagining, like a full elephant trunk.
Right.
But yeah, more like a tapir.
Like a snub nose.
But yeah, so it's still a trunk though. It's still it's more developed than the dugong, but not as long as the elephants.
So open ocean sea cow.
Which what I love this theory is there's a lot of scientists that are now in the last couple of years getting behind this and are starting to look for it.
Like that salamander that should exist.
Yeah. Like they're saying that because there was evidence they just found bones in Antarctic of the southern cousin to the Steller sea cow.
Ooh.
So now that's what I'm saying is they're looking for the one in between.
In between, okay.
So they got a spud bar out there in the open ocean just going around trying to hit something. But no, so what do you think?
I don't. Well, yeah, this one's definitely more. I don't know, 40% on this one. 40.
All right. Now, do you guys really want to know what Trunko is?
Yeah, let's get to it.
So if you haven't picked up on this yet, Michael, by listening to the show and being on the show, whatever I say for last is the one I actually think the whole thing is. You ready?
You're psycho. All right, yes, I'm ready.
I write the scripts.
I know, you psycho.
I think we found our good friend Pinky in his prime.
A prime Pinky.
A prime Pinky. Do you know about Pinky, Michael?
No, I don't. Who's Pinky?
So Pinky was the St. John's River monster that most people believe. So St. John's, Florida, dumps right into the Atlantic Ocean. Pinky was a gigantic pinniped-like creature. He was only so most residents believe he went pink. He was really, really bright pink. Most residents believe he went pink because he was laying in such shallow water almost all the time that he was getting sunburnt very badly. They said he was probably white when he first moved in. But he was just a vegetation vacuum. So he was in the St. John's River for 4 years, and they talked about him like just any other animal. Like he wasn't a monster. They kind of described him as elephant, seal, or walrus, like no big teeth or nothing like that. He had these two kind of big nubs on his head. But most people, and then it just would come onto land, like on the edge, and eat everybody's grass like a big manatee. He was really acting like a big manatee with all of this stuff. And then one day he was floating down the river dead. So what a lot of people believe is he was an open ocean monster, or an open ocean sea monster that spent kind of his retirement in Florida like humans do.
Nice. Very good.
He was monstrous, 40 to 50 foot long,
What?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
But I even heard about him in a bait shop when I was in Florida, like them talking about Pinky, the St. John's River monster. I go to St. John's a lot to catch bowfin. So I kind of get this thought that this is whatever that group of animals is
Right.
what Trunko may be, because they describe them as like being able to shovel like a manatee all this vegetation into his mouth without using his flippers. Excuse me. So I just imagine like a trunk or these big developed lips like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it's not one of the other theories.
Right.
Like I love explaining a cryptid with a cryptid.
Is there any chance when they found it dead, there was a big spud bar hole in the back of his head?
There was actually. He had a spud bar hanging off the back of his head.
All right.
They think it was the mob.
And it tasted like horse?
It tasted like horse.
I think you might be onto something.
No, so yeah, Michael, definitely book number 3, Pinky.
Okay, Pinky. Okay.
Pinky's
Yeah.
Revenge.
I like it.
Pinky's
it,
Revenge.
No, and it was
Whatever it is.
Sorry.
Hey, sorry. Go ahead. I was just gonna say the prehensile aspect of the lips or the trunk or whatever it might be is quite interesting. And earlier Jay mentioned the tapir, and tapirs they're known to sort of act like hippos and run along the bottom of rivers and stuff. So that's another bonus possibility.
Yeah.
It's a tapir.
Aquatic tapir theory.
Suppose a fully aquatic tapir
Wasn't
that
the taxodon? Isn't that a tapir? And it was a giant
that's new to me. I don't know.
taxodon,
Taxodon.
a giant tapir cousin that was I think was like the South American hippo. Like they already think there was one that was actually almost fully aquatic like a hippo, and they were massive.
Well, this is an interesting thread, because you know what tapirs are related to? Are
Serenians.
horses.
Oh, horses. Oh, and they taste like horse.
Oh, here we go.
Tapirs are related to horses?
It looks,
are.
That explains a lot about horses.
looks like a taxodon was an extinct. What's that? Extinct genus of South American mammals. A member of the Notoungulata.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what that
Tapirs.
is. Is it really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go.
What? Like I would lie to you?
You've been known to be wrong about animals.
A time or two. 10th grade, maybe.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, they were giant. They were giant monsters.
Yeah, they look big.
Interesting. That's interesting.
So, Jay, I guess what's your thought about it being Pinky before we do the tapir thing?
I mean, explain a cryptid with a cryptid. Why not? I mean,
Percentage.
You need a percentage on that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, can I give you an imaginary number? That's my percentage?
Sure, I don't care.
I don't even know. Like, it's an upside down I.
XQI 3.
Yeah. I don't know. 14. No. 13.
All right, Michael.
17. I don't know.
17.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with Pinky, but I like the story that you told. And how you told
Pinky's
it,
really
so.
cool. Pinky's a fun one. That was one of
Yeah.
our early Patreon episodes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Pinky. Pinky's a fun story.
Very cool.
Mark Muncie's books. I don't know. Yeah. He's been on the show before. He's got Pinky in one of his books, Weird Florida. Okay, so what do you think about tapir?
The aquatic tapir theory. ATT. 12. No, 7.
Ooh. Michael?
Well, I think I like our aquatic elephant theory a little bit more, but one of the descriptions of the trunk from the original story was that it was flat like a pig's nose. And so it looked. They said it had the trunk like an elephant, but it was more like a pig's nose.
Definitely a manatee.
At the very end. And then, and tapirs, they're related to horses, and so that would connect to our Glacier Island story.
The horse meat.
So the horse meat, because that's the reason why everything tastes like chicken, is that chicken has common ancestry with dinosaurs. So if you taste alligator and taste like chicken, well, it's because they have like a kind of a similar thread.
I thought it was because the Matrix.
It is. It's also that. Yeah.
Okay.
The wire's getting.
Because they didn't have any chickens when the aliens got here. So they didn't know what they tasted like.
Yeah.
So they just had to program it. It just tastes like everything.
So all meat tastes like.
Mm-hmm. No, so if you had to pick one, Michael, if you had, and not saying there's not, because there's a lot of good ones on these lists, but if you just had to pick one to hang your hat on, where are you going?
Well, there's a high likelihood that it's a decaying carcass of some kind.
That's not fun.
But the more I hear about these aquatic elephants and other things that and Sirenians, I like both the aquatic elephant theory and the Sirenian theory, which is kind of, I mean, they're related.
Very close. They're very close to the same thing.
Anyway, so something there, or one of those two, or something in between them.
Okay.
Some type of little splinter off of the family tree. I like that a lot. Something with a prehensile nose that it uses to munch on aquatic vegetation or something, and something that maintained its fur somehow still. I like it.
Or it's covered in fungus.
Oh, interesting.
Well, that's what fur-bearing trout. That's what got their legend started, as trout that was covered in white hair fungus. That's an actual fungus. White hair fungus is a fungus marine animals get.
Oh yeah. I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what.
Cool.
Jay, if you had to hang your hat on one or two, it doesn't have to be one, but
nope, I'm gonna stick to one.
Okay.
It's probably the aquatic elephant.
Aquatic elephant's a good one.
That's what I like. That's just the one I like the most.
Yeah.
But we'll put let's put a reward out there. If anyone listening to this episode, if you're a fisherman, open sea fisherman, you hook onto a Trunko, and you bring us the carcass or just a piece of the meat, and Justin tastes it, and if he confirms it tastes like horse,
I don't like horse.
We'll put you on an episode of our show.
Okay, I guess I didn't agree to any of this, but okay.
It's in there. It's out there now.
I'm going Sirenian. I think it really is the stellar sea cow.
Good. Yeah.
I really. I'm not saying, but I do think there is something there with the aquatic elephants. That's probably my number 2 for sure.
Yeah.
But
they're close. It's nearly tied.
I mean, they're almost the same. But I do think so. I was just reading that article about the stellar sea cow and the southern counterpart, and now they're actively looking for the open ocean variant. And that's really exciting to me, because there's what most people don't realize, and I know you know, Michael, but people at home may not, is that there are gigantic grass mats in the middle of the open ocean. Like, it's not just nothing out there. Like, there are these whole gigantic plateaus of grass mats. I think it's like...
Wow.
Like floating?
No. Like shallow, warm water full of seagrass. They started using sharks and dugongs with cameras on them to find these. Because it's the tiger sharks, they are the kings of these environments. Even though you see them in the open ocean, they're really just moving from one patch to the next. There's open ocean predators that are a lot better at exploiting the open ocean than they are. They're kings of these shallow water giant grass things. I believe we just did a study last summer, and these environment increased by 33 million acres.
That's a lot of acreage.
Because of they found more.
Yeah.
They just don't know where to look for them. Like I said, the ocean's big, so it's hard.
How deep are these?
A lot of these are 30 to 60 foot.
Okay.
So, but when everything else is around it, may be miles deep.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So you were finding these little, and so I think that's what we're talking about personally, is a Sirenian, a gigantic Sirenian that specializes in these, basically think of it as island hopping between these island, there you go. Yeah, I know that's what he wanted.
I did.
But I think it's a giant Sirenian hopping from these giant seagrass meadows.
So it's an island boy Sirenian.
Yeah, it has the hair and everything.
Yeah, it all makes. They're Trunko. The island boys, whatever.
On that note, Michael, will you please shout out all your stuff again? And once again, everybody at home, I'll have Michael's link in the bio below. You can find his stuff there. But please give your own shout outs.
Check out my brand new audiobook edition of Winslow Hoffner's Incredible Encounters. Folkloric fantasy on the high seas, all that good stuff, sea monsters and cryptids. You can find that and all my other books on michaelthompsonbooks.com, and follow me on Instagram at mthompson_books.
There you go. Follow him on Instagram.
Love it.
Go see him in person too. Do you have any in-person appearances coming up soon?
Yes, Monster Fest over in closer to your neck of the woods, Ohio.
Canton, yep.
That's going to be June 3rd. And all that information is going to be on my website as well. I'm very excited for that. That's the first event put on by Small Town Monsters.
It's going to be exciting. Jay's going.
That's their first one ever? That they're going to...
Their first one.
I think they did a previous one, but I'm not 100% sure. I think they stopped doing it, but I think it's the first one of this kind. They did something else.
It's the first one of this name, yeah.
You're sending me to fly solo on one of their first? Oh.
Shh, Michael, he's going by himself.
I'll be there, Jay.
There you go. Don't give him an apple. Don't give him an apple. It's not good for him. It's like a vampire.
Makes my legs not work.
It makes his legs not work. That's still the funniest thing at breakfast. But no, Michael, thank you for joining us. And as you know, how we like to end this is on the count of 3, we'll all scream bye, and then the outro will play. You ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Cryptids of the Corn podcast.
Please share with a friend you think would like us. It's the best way to help our show grow.
Leave a comment, rate us, a 5-star review, and remember, there is always extra content on Patreon/CryptidsOfTheCorn.com.
And don't forget, stay magical.